We're starting off high.
We can get a two fools agree on that one. Oh, by the way, look, we got the wide shot.
There was you had accountability. Now what I can
Now all you need is a podcast and a YouTube channel.
No, not even.
Where give me the money. Show me the money.
Apparently there's a Foolproof page.
Shoot the J. Shoot it. Live on Facebook.com/Foolproof Entertainment Network. I need you on Twitter. I need you to repost the Facebook pages.
To raise a human before I would
Trust a human to raise back wolves.
before I would trust a pack of humans to raise a wolf.
Right. I hear you.
Yo, what up, fools? Welcome to another edition of Do Fools Agree. As always, I'm your host, Michael Reggie, here with my main man, Clifford Jordan Jennings.
They tried to take me out.
That's what I heard.
They tried to take me out the gang.
But you still here. You still standing. You still strong.
Still strong.
Coming in hot for season 5 of Do Fools Agree. Entering into our 5th year of doing this nonsense. And we got a special guest tonight.
My guy.
Friend of the fools. Hashtag lifelong fool. Our
lifelong
man.
fool, that's right.
He said that's right.
He said that's right. What's going on, Gordon?
Hello, Twitter world. This is not Twitter, but hello, podcast world, and hello, world in general. I'm sipping on some red wine from Kroger. I think it's like a mid-range quality. I probably paid about $15 for it, so I just know there's a difference between like high quality and low quality, and the difference between mid quality and high quality. You can't even tell the difference. So like,
right.
Generally, yeah, no, I agree with that.
Just the label you paying for.
Yeah, right. But there's so many like wine companies that the range of labels is just, it's so vast and diverse. Like you got the one that has Snoop Dogg on it, and like Martha Stewart, and then you got some that are like classic, plain labels. There's nothing really on them. You would think that those are the good ones, right?
He threw Martha in there with the 19 crimes.
Yeah, right. Because she's a criminal, right? She's like, Martha Stewart's a criminal. What did she spent time in prison, right? Federal prison.
Yeah, I feel like it was like tax evasion or something.
It was.
I thought it was insider trading.
Yeah,
insider trading. All right, yeah.
Yeah.
One of those white collar crimes.
Right.
Martha Stewart. what a character, right? Martha Stewart.
Her cell had a view.
Right.
Yes, probably, right? But she's this woman teaching housewives how to make homes. And then she also spent time in federal prison for insider trading. Like, how hilarious is that?
I wish I had a girlfriend or a wife that would teach me something about insider trading.
I guess so.
Gonna teach me something. Come on now.
Well, if it's your wife, it's not illegal because you can't testify against her like that. So.
Yeah, hey, whatever. I don't know. But
That's called a companionship.
Right. Oh, man. Goodness gracious. Well, this is my whole mood this week. Is the adulting. Half a star, would not recommend. I was hoping that this week would be an easy week back to the corporate slag, and my boss came in on one on Monday. He was ready to go, so it was a long week.
But he was ready to go and quit.
No, he was just ready to get things moving. He had a lot of energy, and it was a little hard to match it. So,
what's his name?
I'm not giving out names. I'm not giving out companies. I'm not giving out anything.
Yeah, you can't do that.
He was ready to go. So I had to be ready to go. I had to get myself ready to go. And then my son was still on spring break this week or winter break this week, so he was home with me for most of it and just trying to keep up, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was trying to think like if I would know him, because I think the executive leadership in Columbus, they probably are all, it's probably the same people, because they all like run in the same circles. So like, if
he is not from the Columbus area. I'll just leave it at that. So. And they only came in recently. But I want to get away from that. I want to get away from work talk.
Yeah. Fuck you, Jeff Bezos. We don't like you in Columbus.
Nobody likes Jeff Bezos. Come on now.
I mean, my packages come on time.
I mean, that's true. We don't like it, but we use it.
Yeah, and that's, I would like to kind of touch on that subject, because I've always been a little uncomfortable living a comfortable life at the expense of others, and Amazon is a prime example of that. I don't know if they're still doing it, but a couple years ago, I think somebody died in one of their warehouses, and the workers were forced to keep working
I believe
around the dead body.
I mean, they're currently trying to squash unionization attempts within the organization.
Yeah. So that's something I don't really like. That your packages are on time, but
at what cost?
At what cost? And then like I've heard that they're peeing in jars because they don't have bathroom breaks, and and like that shit's just fucked up. And I've been through the system, because I have you heard of Amazon Flex, where people, they take their car.
You can drop off the late night packages or whatever, whatever's left.
Well, it's not necessarily late night, but maybe it is now. I don't know, but
that's just when it comes from me. That's where I'm judging. So yeah,
that's when it comes from you. But it's just another way for them to get packages out, and this whole thing with like contractors, with the gig economy, it's a way for businesses to not provide benefits for their workers.
Absolutely.
And still get the work out of it. So it's just a way for corporations to save money. So that's what Amazon Flex was. They're just trying to save money. They don't want to provide benefits for their employees. They don't want to be. Also, the other thing that's not really talked about is they don't want to be accountable to their employees.
No.
When you like, there's a clear difference. When you pay somebody, there are expectations, and also like with somebody on site, like on your grounds, there's kind of like it's a mutual back and forth of accountability and responsibility, right? Because it's like,
well, that's what any relationship should be, whether it's professional, whether it's personal. Like, there should be give and take, and it should be mutually beneficial.
It should be mutually beneficial, exactly. So with the gig economy, it's like, it's no longer mutually beneficial. It's like, hey, you provide work for me, but I'm not really accountable to you. So it fucks up the business in a profound way, because if I'm coming in working for you and I get the sense that you just don't give a shit about me, then I'm like, how hard am I going to work for you?
But I think that's the thing with the gig economy, is that you get out of it what you put into it, right? Like, that's the same thing with Uber. That's the same thing with being one of the drivers for any one of those kind of services. Like, no, they skim a shit ton off the top, but like, you're also not locked into any kind of contract with them either. So like, you could peace out at any time. And that's that's the flexibility
and a lot of people do.
Right. A lot of people pick it up as like a second job when they've got extra time and they just want to make a couple bucks. You know what I mean?
I mean, I know we're using Amazon as an example, but it's not limited to that. Like even like
Uber, Grubhub.
the jobs you currently work, a lot of them are being filled by temp agencies because they don't owe them any benefits.
Right.
Right. So the total cost of employment to bring a temp on is lower because you're only paying the hourly rate. You're not paying the benefits. You're not paying the total cost.
Here's the thing.
Right.
That's not true. Here's why. I'll give you a perfect example. So I just worked a warehouse job for like a week and a half, right? Yeah, I know, longevity, not really, but
that's
like,
about as long as I lasted at FedEx, so I get it. I went back to the moving trucks after that.
All right. They were paying $13.50 an hour in DFW. Okay. This is a large metropolitan area, right? Okay. $13.50 is not a livable wage.
It is not.
Okay. $16 is not even a livable wage in DFW. A livable wage in DFW is at least about $18.50. Okay. Even now, like I can't even really like work with $18.50 because there's, that's enough to get your bills paid, but there's nothing left over, So they're paying me $13.50. The work is like, it's monotonous. I did a couple of different things. I was like moving boxes off of this like assembly line and stacking them up on pallets. Okay. And then we would wrap the pallet, or we would put like corners on the pallet. We put straps on it. And then we put like a plastic wrap on top of it, right? So the work's it's not difficult necessarily, but it is taxing and it is important work. What we were wrapping up were modems for T-Mobile, okay?
Gotcha.
So I don't know how much they're charging for their internet service, but they're refurbishing modems. They can kind of do that because modems just sit in the corner. You don't really pick it up.
Right.
You're not doing anything with it.
You swap them out maybe every 5 to 10 years. They'll go bad and you've got to swap them out. Maybe.
Yeah, right. So it sits in the corner and it doesn't do anything. And T-Mobile, Verizon, AT&T, how much money do they make off of these modems monthly? Like, I don't know, $60, $70, $80 a month, right? Yep. Okay. There's very little overhead with this business model. They're reusing old equipment, making a shit ton of money, and they're paying me $13.50 an hour. Okay?
Which is why you've seen like the FedExes and the UPSs of the world, their unions fight for, $40 an hour or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, 40 is a lot. That's $80,000 a year. I mean,
well,
yeah,
and
I mean, not in comparison.
We did the math, like, and I've seen this replicated in multiple times. If you take the average wage of someone during the Great Depression and account for inflation. It's $90,000. It's $93,000. It's somewhere between $85,000 and $95,000.
That's what people were paid in the Great Depression.
Yep. And the average income in the United States right now is like $45,000. So the average American is making less than we did during the Great Depression.
That's bullshit. Complete bullshit. Like, and when you put it that way, it really puts it into perspective, doesn't it? That we're making less money now than we were during the Great Depression. That's
right.
In a so-called thriving economy.
In the richest country in the world.
Right.
Listen.
That shit doesn't make any fucking sense.
Motherfuckers ain't gonna do shit.
Well, and let's talk about that. So like I'm making $13.50 and it wasn't T-Mobile. I mean, I don't work for the company anymore, but it was this company. Fucking CTDI. Okay?
But you got a coffee mug from them, so it's all good.
Yeah, right. So it makes it all better, right? They gave us coffee mugs at Christmas. Oh man. Oh, you couldn't pay your car note this month? Hey, This will make it better.
Here's a coffee mug.
Is this a wake you
Have
up
a
to
coffee
look for
mug.
other sources of
Yeah,
income?
right. Yeah. This will wake you up so you can go. Yes, and go find other sources of income. The fuck out of here.
Listen.
Right? And then and fucking Walmart was playing this game 10 years ago. And then like once I found out about it, I was like, man, they were paying their people so little money that they were branded as the biggest welfare queen because because they were forcing their people through paying them so little to go get food stamps.
And you know how you take care of that immediately?
Assistance.
You know how you take care of that immediately? You force the companies to pay those benefits. You force the companies to pay the welfare benefits for anybody that's employed by them that is also on welfare. Like that takes care of it overnight. And that's an easy thing to pass that would have unanimous support. I saw something the other day that was basically looking at if you saw the American opinion on something with regards to a law, and the country was divided 50-50. You know what the chance of that law passing is? 30%. If the country itself because of the way our government works, especially at the federal level. So it can have 70% of the popular opinion, popular vote, and it will not become a federal law because only 30% of laws get made. Only 30% of things pass through.
And obviously that has to do with the corruption, right? So,
and that can lead us into a different conversation, Gordon, because I know you and I are going to get there eventually.
It's a fucking important ass conversation. It's an important conversation that the shit that affects us on a daily basis is not decided by us.
No,
it's decided by I don't know what percentage of the population.
It's decided by corporate money and corporate interest.
Yeah, exactly. So that it's a huge problem. Like it's a massive problem. If you look at the number of like gun deaths in this country each year, I don't know the number, but if you look at a graph, you got USA, and USA, again, the richest, most powerful country in the world, is like an order of 10 times higher than the rest of the developed world. Like France, Italy, UK, Canada, even Canada.
What's the number one killer of kids under 18?
Guns.
Sure is.
So what the fuck? Well, like I know we all have a problem with that. Cliff, you're a an avid gun owner. That's fine. Hey,
right. I lost all my guns in a boating accident.
Whatever. More power to you, right? But I'm sure you're just like everybody else. You probably want common sense gun laws, especially being a victim.
I mean, but it really doesn't matter, to be quite honest, because you could put as many laws as you want to. It's not going to stop anything from happening.
I disagree.
Doesn't matter what you do.
I wholeheartedly disagree.
And now
I think the laws do matter.
We're in the age of 3D printers. There's no stopping someone from getting a weapon if they choose to get a weapon. People are getting caught with guns and guns that they made themselves and all kinds of shit now. Like there's nothing that you can do as far as putting a law on it that's going to stop, one, the availability, and two, the amount that are circulating. You got to understand, guns still shoot from 1865.
Right.
So once those guns are on the street, they're on the street. You're going to find it. Even if they crack down on everything, it's the people that are going to be able to have more readily guns are going to be on the criminal side of things.
Yeah. Well, that's a really interesting point that you just brought up.
It's like
that's something I've heard that from. I heard that about somebody said that the worst invention of the 20th century. Can you guess it, Cliff?
The worst invention?
Automatics.
Of the 20th century.
Automatic firearms.
I have no idea.
AK-47. because that gun is just like it's indestructible.
It's indestructible. It's mass produced. It's
mass produced, simple, easy to clean. I've seen videos like people throwing them in mud and then it like still fires, So it's like that shit was like the worst thing to come out of the 20th century. Reliable though, accurate, deadly. Like these are
but that's the foundation you built when you built the country. You know what I'm saying? Like you built it to arm the people to protect themselves against the tyrannical government that now in this age that we're in, we're not going to do anything about to begin with. So that's why you have gun violence.
Man. So I think that when the law was written, when the law was written that enshrined gun rights in our Constitution, America was literally under siege. Okay, so imagine Israel. We were, and I'm not, by the way, I'm not siding. I'm not siding with Israel at all. Like they are, man, I was like tearing up hearing about what they were doing a few days ago. I mean, that shit is just so fucked up. It is not right at all, and we can talk about that if you want to, but I'm not educated enough on it.
And that's my whole thing on it.
It's been going on since post World War II. It's been going on for that whole time, and it's complicated. It is a complicated issue. What is not complicated is the death toll.
The amount of death. Yeah,
that's not complicated at all. And I don't care what the fuck you say. Like 30,000 people is not the same as 1,000 people. It's just not. And I don't give a fuck if you think that they're less human than you or less worthy of life than you.
That's a problem in itself.
Like that shit it's not right,
That's the problem in itself.
Well, going back to what I was saying, like America at the time was under siege. Like that's what the War of 1812 was. Like America hadn't even built up enough power to be respected in the world at the time. So,
but it's deeper than that. It's even deeper than that, right? And you are absolutely correct, but it's even deeper than that because those people that signed the fucking what's it called? Not the Declaration of Independence.
Constitution.
The Constitution. They even knew, I don't trust these other motherfuckers here with me. This is the first time that we're bringing this together, and we made it a point to put it in that the people need arms in case we
are overthrown or we
get
are
out of hand. If we get out of hand, the people need arms. So they already knew none of us are to be trusted. I don't trust you who's about to sign after me. I don't trust the nigga that you're handing the pen to. I don't trust none of you. So we need to put it in here that the people have a right to arm themselves against us if we take it a step too far.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? So it's even deeper than being under siege. They were saying that we know the power that we hold in this situation, and we know how easy it is to be corrupted by that power. Therefore, we need to put something in here to protect the people.
Right.
And anytime the oppressor puts a rule in for the fucking oppressed, there's already a problem.
Right.
There's already a problem because nobody thinks like that. If I'm oppressing you, I'm doing it righteously. I believe that I'm right.
But that was the thing, is that we were righteous at that point. We had just escaped the arms of tyranny, and nobody wanted to leave the opportunity to go back to it. And meanwhile, we have gone back to it. It's just been so subtle that we don't realize it.
I will argue that we weren't righteous then, because if we were, the motherfuckers would have been like, this is right, it's law. Not this is right, it's law, but if we just so happen to overstep, take it into your own hands.
Well, so hold on. Another dynamic that you're not talking about is the fact that at the time, any military that we had was fledgling at best.
Yeah, it was basically equally armed. It wasn't any better armed than the militias or the average citizen.
Right. So our military sucked at the time.
Well, the average citizen was the military in a lot of instances.
Exactly. So it's like our military was so shitty at the time that it's like, listen, like we're gonna try our best, but
you got us. You got our back.
You gotta have our back. You know, like you got to be there too, because like, we're gonna go out here and we're gonna fucking try, but that doesn't mean that we're gonna solve the problem. So that is part of why that's in there, because it's like, listen,
well,
we despite us being the federally appointed body of protection, that does not mean that we will be able to repel at the time the most powerful country on the planet.
Well, not to touch a sore spot, but look at Israel.
Ow!
Look at Israel, though. Look at Israel. They require every citizen of the country to do military time. They have to serve in the military as a citizen of Israel. Do you think Israel would then put something like that into their constitution, knowing that each and every one of their citizens have military training? No, they would not. They would not. And it's the exact same situation that it was back in those times, because the citizens were the soldiers, like we came to conclude.
Yeah.
So even still, it still says that the powers that be, meaning those motherfuckers that signed that document, still knew that it was probably a motherfucker that was like, I know you're damn near turning as we speak. I see you right now across from me foaming at the mouth for the power that you think you're going to get from signing this Constitution. I don't trust you.
I believe that. I believe that.
I don't trust you.
I mean,
I believe that.
The only honorable president we had was the first one, because he got reelected. He got reelected, and then he chose to step down. Like, that was the last one.
Yeah.
He didn't have to. I don't even know if I would say the last one. I would just say the last successful, because we know that there's a lot of them that were on the verge of.
Right.
Yeah, JFK might have been
right. Whose story was cut very short, very quick.
Well, that's because he found out about the other beings.
Are you trying to segue? Well, let me just throw this out there. Okay, so I wholeheartedly disagree with you, Cliff, on the laws not mattering, because we have.
I don't know. Did I say that?
You did.
Yeah. You said it would. It's. I think your argument is like, and correct me if I'm wrong. It's not the guns. It's the people.
Right.
But
because what I was gonna say is this, and this is just to wrap up my whole thought on the matter, is there wasn't an ATF back in those days. Yeah. There wasn't serial numbers everywhere on your guns that trace back to a database that says where that gun is being housed.
Sure.
So even the people now that we call criminals that run, around with guns that aren't necessarily registered to themselves, that was the way it was always meant to be. It's the people behind the gun.
That's the way it was. I don't know if that's how it was always meant to be.
Well, not meant. Of course, it would evolve. I'm sure they knew that it would evolve, but I doubt that they thought that it would ever get to a point where motherfuckers can tell you how many guns you own at your current residence.
Yeah.
That's an infringement in itself. Why do you need to know what I have privacy at my residence? So I guarantee the forefathers didn't.
Honestly, I kind of agree with you. They
didn't think that it would be this way.
I don't like that infringement on privacy. Now, when my desire to do whatever I want to do starts to impact my fellow citizens, I, as an American, am willing to listen to the arguments against my freedom. So, like, for example, we do it with everything else,
We do.
by the way. Okay, so alcohol, um, food, cars, businesses, construction sites, everything where somebody can potentially get killed requires a license, right? Everything.
I mean, those are fairly recent developments as well, though.
Yeah, fair enough. But there are. Do you agree that they're good developments? Do you agree that? Do you agree? I mean, we last time I was on here, which was what 2 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago, I was talking about food poisoning. So, do you agree that that's a good development? That like you should be required to ensure that you are storing this food properly, so that you're not killing people.
Everything has a duality. That's what I think. I won't say that it's a good development, because you could also argue that that was the reason why that we're in a monopoly state currently, because of all the restrictions that are placed on things in the certain companies that are only high enough to be able to bypass said restrictions. Right. So there's a duality to everything. Do I think it helps minimize death? Yes, I do. But do I think that there's also some bad that comes from signing in and
the amount of things that are processed?
Yes, I
the
do
amount
as well.
of things
Like,
that are
right. I don't think that there's
organic,
anything in this world that you can wholeheartedly say that is all for good or that is all for bad. Everything has a duality to it.
I think we're in agreement on that. We're in agreement on that. There's always a good and a bad for everything. But having said that, here in Texas, they have this like no constitutional carry bullshit where it's like all you got you don't even need to take tests. You can just go buy a gun. I think that's bullshit because it's like, and I guess that's I guess you guys got that too. That's more what I was. That's more what I was referring to, is that anything that you can kill somebody, kill yourself for that matter.
But you know why
you typically need some kind of training, okay? So that for them to be like, fuck the training, I think it's dumb as fuck. And I think that's ridiculous.
You know why they allow that, though, is because they know we're not going to use them. We're not going to use them. The people that are legally carrying the guns know that there is a chance that even if they defend themselves, they can be convicted in a court of law and go to jail. We're not going to take the chance to use them. The only people that are using them are the ones that have the guns that aren't registered to themselves anyway. And those people would be doing the same thing if we had bow and arrows, knives, or slingshots.
And so somebody said that the whole point of the law was actually to make it easier to convict those people because I don't know, they're going to be the ones that are using the guns more recklessly, I guess. I don't know. All I know is that the gun deaths in Texas have ticked up ever since that law came out. So there's data. We got data.
I mean, you're getting 7 years for a murder now. So that explains things too. It's not 12 mandatory like it used to anymore. You're getting out in 6 years after you've murdered somebody. So that kind of plays a part in knowing that the life isn't worth as much. I don't have to do as much time.
Beyond that, like people are like getting out on bond as well, and that shit doesn't make any fucking sense to me. Like I don't know where you guys fall on like the spectrum of like politics, but like in terms of like crime, I'm more on the conservative side because it's like, like I was talking about old girl like trying to run over the cop, getting killed. It's like, I mean, what the fuck did you expect was gonna happen?
Say
like
more. Say more when you say you err to the conservative side.
Well, it's like
because I think before you speak, I think the first thing that comes to my mind is the conservative side is the CIA that planted a lot of those guns in those areas, right?
Yeah, that's true.
So now everything happened the way you wanted it to. So now you can then come back and say
in terms
we're
of
conservative.
In terms of our community,
right?
You mean
look at Chicago,
who's
now in a big shift to Islam, which I think is beautiful. Islam came in there and been cleaning up Chicago.
I mean, I've heard good things about Mr. Farrakhan, and I've heard good things about his approach to the Black community, and I really like what he does. And he's pretty old, so somebody's gonna have to.
I'm just saying,
take up the mantle.
Our country is known for creating the problem just so they can present you the solution.
Yep. No, I agree with that 110%.
That's what we're known to do. So when people say I err to the conservative side, what do you mean? Like, do you mean that like the same people that put you in this position to present you with the solution?
Well, and I think that's the problem with this current state of American politics in general, is that we've gone so polarized that, and I used to say this all the time, I would definitely identify as conservative if they didn't have the stance they had on every single social issue.
Okay.
Like fiscal...
Yeah.
I understand exactly what you're saying, and I think I still lean more conservative than I do liberal.
Well...
and that's my thing, and I'm with you to an extent. Like, I would say, generally speaking...
See what's going on? This is an independent conversation.
Absolutely.
We're independent because we're applying critical thought to issues that affect everybody.
Right.
Okay. So that's why it's like, if I was Republican, which I absolutely am not.
I'm not none of that.
I would not side with their viewpoint of give everybody guns. It doesn't matter. Oh, you're mentally ill. Here's an AK. Here's an AR-15 for you. Or you've been talking about mass murder on social media. You want to get a pistol? Go for it. Like that. That shit doesn't make any fucking sense to me. And this is the point I was trying to get at earlier. The laws do matter. Again, it's only America. It literally is only America that has as many gun deaths as we have. It's only America. It's no one else. Nobody else. I think the closest person to us is like some war-torn country of, I don't know what the fuck country it was, but it was like some third world country that's at war. That's the closest country that we're to in terms of gun death. Okay.
Right.
That's what is it?
Keep going.
No, I'm just saying that's wrong. There's something wrong there. Okay.
The duality of the Second Amendment. That's the duality of it. You can't have it both ways.
I think that a good idea that you probably would agree with, Cliff, is like, in order to purchase a gun, you need to wait like 3 days.
No, I agree.
I know you do, because that's fucking common sense, right? Because
I would agree with that.
People go purchase guns to kill people in the heat of the moment. They're angry. They want to go fucking shoot somebody. Like this guy I was working with.
But how many, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. I just want to know, how many people do you think actually purchase a firearm and then commit a crime with said firearm within the first 72 hours, for the sake of argument?
I don't know. I bet you it's a lot. I bet you it's a lot more than you.
Well, I'm just saying the immediate instances that we can think of come to mind are school shootings. And we know that these children don't have access to these guns. They can't go to the gun stores to get these. So it comes down to
what's the purchase age? 18?
Yeah,
purchase age is 18 for
most school shooters are
right. For a rifle,
how
21 for a pistol.
How old are you in the 12th grade?
You're 18, but what I'm saying is I don't think. Well, now let's look up that information.
How old the average school shooter is? I'm just saying that access is the issue, and that's why I say it's the duality of the Second Amendment, because what you did was you flooded a country with guns. You flooded them. We're flooded with guns. The United States is flooded with guns, including the ones that are being pulled off of shelves to be sold on a daily basis. Take them out of it. Hella guns on the street. And the only reason why I asked that question of how many people do you think are purchasing a gun to go take care of business within the first 72 hours is because, keep it a buck, if you're that adamant about killing somebody, the gun store isn't where you're going.
Explain.
When you know that there's just as many guns on the street as
you're gonna go somewhere else to get
right
it.
As there is in a gun store.
What
why would I even go to the store to put a gun in my name?
Because there's a paper trail there. So why would
like
you...
the average American isn't just going to a gun store to buy a gun to do a hit. That's not the way it works.
Mm-hmm.
Because whether you make me wait 3 days or not, you've definitely made me do paperwork and go through databases and everything in that one instance before you handed that gun over.
Right, and if nothing else, it gave you time to think about it.
Right? Yeah, so that's what I was trying to get at. Like, yes. If you are criminal minded, Cliff, like if you are of that mindset of like, I don't need to go to a gun store. I'm gonna get it over here.
I would argue that there's more guns.
Those people will get the gun no matter what. But what I think is there are a lot of people who would end up killing themselves, would end up killing others.
That's an argument.
Who are not of that mindset and are not in those circles, and those people will be discouraged after 12, 24 hours. They'll think about it like, goddamn, I was emotional in that moment.
You were seeing red. It's the same thing. It's the same thing with like suicide attempts. Like the best thing you can do is if you're having suicidal thoughts, is convince yourself to wait 24 hours before you do it. Because most of the time you'll snap yourself out of it in that time.
It's wild that, even in speaking of suicide, because that's my line of work. You know what I mean? I have to review a lot of.
What do you mean? You do the hotline? Or
No. I just claims in general, and a lot of them will come through like mental health claims, depression, anxiety, things of that nature. And one of the questions that they always ask is, do you have you have access to a firearm?
Yeah. I'll let you guys in on something. About 6 months ago, what happened? My car got repossessed, and I was on the verge of getting evicted from my apartment. So I don't know, like my value in my mind had been attached to my work, and at the time I was like just really struggling in terms of like my life and just keeping my shit on track, right? So I started having some like suicidal thoughts, and I called the suicide hotline, and they were like, man, like, you don't have, they asked me, do you have any like firearms handy? I was like, no, I don't have any of that. And have you thought about harming yourself? And yeah, obviously, right? That's what I'm calling them. But, I just know that if a gun was there,
it's easier to make that quick decision. And that's where
maybe I wouldn't be here, maybe I wouldn't even be alive,
And I'm completely with you, man. Like similar instances right after the separation and at some point in my early 20s, like had the same thoughts. And to your point, like if I had a firearm available to me at that point, like that's part of the reason why I don't own one.
I mean, but I feel like
I'm also in a different place now. But what I'm saying is like,
yeah,
and not
and you think about like the military too, like think about their suicide rates. They're sky high.
But there's much more involved with that than just the fact of being around a firearm.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's a lot of mental
else.
trauma,
PTSD.
Yeah,
there's
I mean,
a lot of feeling like you're not worth what I did for the country I did it for.
Do they, because I know in other countries, like in the past, they would keep their weapons. Is that how it is with the military now? I don't think any of us have been in the military, but
yeah,
it's the same way.
Certain guns that you receive in the military you can take with you. Certain guns you have to be classified for, like you have to have a license to have a fully automatic. So if you leave the military and you take yours with you, you have to be accredited to do so.
Yeah. Is it hard? Like, is it hard to kill yourself with a machine gun?
I mean, let's keep it a buck. It wouldn't be hard to kill yourself with any gun. You know what I'm saying? It's not hard to kill yourself with anything for that matter.
Well, that's a fair point.
You know what I'm saying? It's a lot of young ladies that choose to keep their beauty and they take a handful of pills. You feel what I'm saying? But you're not gonna take all the prescription pills off of the market and say these aren't healthy for you because there's too many people using these to do something they would inevitably do anyway.
We just use fentanyl and opioids for that shit.
Listen,
that's funny.
That's the duality of it all. Once again, it's back to the duality of it all. You can't have one thing without the other. Anything that you give, people will abuse.
Yeah, but the argument is like it's hard. It's hard to get like deadly.
Don't get me wrong. You have a tool.
You know,
you have a gun is a tool, is what it is. And if you have suicidal thoughts, no, it's not good to be around one, because if you put a screwdriver in your hand, you're gonna find something to twist.
Right.
It's anything. If you give someone anything, they're gonna find a way to use it. And if they don't know any other way but on themselves, then that's chances are what they're gonna do. But that would have been the same case whether it was a gun, a rope, a razor blade, or a bottle of pills.
I just think it's easy. The difference is the ease.
Yeah,
it's very easy.
Instant.
To put that. It's instant. It's easy to put that gun up to your head, and you're gone. You're done. You're done with the pain.
Yeah, it's 2 seconds versus anything else. You're gonna sit there. You're gonna gasp for breath, or you're gonna start to fade.
As far as we know, though, but I also think that's the arrogance of man as well, just to think that I'm done with the pain as soon as I do this. Bitch, you don't know what the fuck comes next.
That's true too.
You could drop yourself right into a very worse situation, but the arrogance of man is, let me end it all because I'm feeling a certain kind of way, not knowing whether or not this way couldn't be amplified by 20 where you're going afterwards. You don't know that.
That's true.
You have a fair point. So I mean, the point I'm ultimately just trying to get at is the laws do matter. And again, America, I don't know the exact numbers. You were looking it up, Mike, but the exact numbers show, like if you look at a graph, America is at the astronomically farther ahead in terms of gun death than every other developed country. And it shouldn't be like that. It shouldn't be like that.
No other country's been flooded with guns, though.
Well, when you said that earlier, I thought about Australia. And Australia, at one point in time, like 20 years ago, was flooded with guns. They instituted a buyback program. And so when people would come in and like they would get money for their guns, and they had a mass shooting in like 1996 or something like that.
I know what you're talking about.
And then after that, like they were like, that's it. Like we're not fucking with this anymore. and
they did something about it. They attempted to do something about it, which is what we have been unwilling to do as a country.
Yeah, they at least did something. Yeah, but whatever they did, but hold on, whatever they did worked because they haven't had any like mass shootings since then. So it's like they took action and it changed things. It changed things for the better.
But part of the problem here too is just, and it goes back to the polarized nature of everything over the last 25 years, man. Like we have lost the ability to, and you made this comment earlier, Gordon. We've lost the ability to think critically and have critical conversations and crucial conversations, and we snap to that like right away. Like, and Cliff has made the point in other episodes around we are in a country where the government is not providing for their people, so people are taking it from one another. When really we should be going after the corporations in our overall government that isn't representing us anymore.
Isn't that so funny? Isn't that so funny that they've got us at each other's throats?
That's
when
the
they're
game.
the ones that are holding the fucking strings. Like
that's exactly what I was about to say.
They're the reason that we hate each other, and it's like, what the fuck?
We live in an era in this country where we know more about Israel-Palestine than we do about our own conflicts that are going on.
Yep.
And a lot of the reason
our own issues in our country,
right. And a lot of that is because America as a whole hasn't atoned for anything that it's done.
Ever.
Right. In the history of. They'll never put it out there and say we dropped the ball here, or we did this wrong, or we need to readdress how we look at this. That never is the case. That's why you see all these articles about Israel, Palestine, Ukraine, Russia, China speaking with Russia. What the fuck did Hunter Biden leak on his fucking all that is a decoy for them to not ever have to address the things that they've done. Because if they would be addressing the wrongs that have taken place, then the American public would wake up and say, oh, it's possible they could mess up again. But right now, we're all riding off the illusion that our country doesn't mess up. Never mind the FDA is poisoning us. Never mind that the water in Flint still hasn't fixed. Never mind any of these issues that we see with our own two eyes. We have articles and internet blogs and YouTube videos telling us about what's going on in these countries. So let me be focused on that.
You know what's funny is, someone gave me a book for Christmas. And it's a fantasy book. It's like a Dragon Riders Academy thing. And in the book, there's a line that talks about it only takes.
Are these the dragons? Are they like the Chinese dragon?
No, it's the European medieval.
Is it
European.
like a European?
Yeah, it's the
European
the Dragon Riders.
But there's a line.
In both cultures.
There is
cultures.
And that
dragons exist in both cultures.
And that's going to take us to our aliens conversation at some point. But there's a line in the book that talks about it only takes a generation and a half to change history. It takes one generation to change it, and it takes one generation to teach it.
Right.
And then history is changed. And that's all we have done in this country since it was founded. Is continuously try to change our history.
Like confronting the issues that we're trying to cover up.
We'll recreate it, right.
I sent Cliff something earlier today that was like they are using AI to unwrap and read ancient scrolls, and like I know Cliff's immediate thought was, well, they'll corrupt the AI so that it doesn't tell us what we want to know, but like they're starting to use AI to decrypt,
so that it doesn't
they'll
corrupt the AI so that it doesn't what now?
So that it doesn't translate it correctly.
Right. Basically, it would change. It would change information in real time. They would recognize, oh, the powers that be don't want this coming out, so let me say that it's saying this.
Well,
but how incredible would it be to read ancient texts from, 10,000 years ago, 5,000 years ago?
It'd be cool. It'd be really languages. Cool. But didn't I send you guys that video where the AI was like simulating the dead languages.
Uh huh. And it was related. This was a related
I sent it to you guys. I sent it to you guys. The AI was like speaking in like ancient Sumerian and fucking Akkadian and.
They don't want that shit.
No, it's because it's going to show
that Fruit of the Loom had a cornucopia.
Right.
And I know that's a joke, but that's exactly what it's going to show. It's going to show all of the things that have been changed over the years to benefit the history or the people that are in power during that course of history.
See,
and then people are going to wake up.
So there are two explanations.
Talk about that.
There are two explanations, and I want to dive into this a little bit. There are two explanations for the Mandela
And I'm just
effect.
throwing out that that's like the image of Jesus.
Right. No, completely agree. But there are two, in my mind, plausible explanations, equally possible explanations for the Mandela effect. Number one.
What is the explain what the Mandela effect
the Mandela effect is
for
when
our listeners and for a friend of mine.
So the Mandela effect is when collective memory is wrong or is supposedly wrong. So it originates from learning of Nelson Mandela's death in prison versus years later. Mm-hmm. And like you see it manifested with like the Berenstain Bears versus the Berenstain Kazam with Sinbad.
With Sinbad, yeah.
And the cornucopia of the Fruit of the Loom logo versus like the Monopoly Man with a monocle versus without, or Curious George has a tail.
Wait, hold on. Wait, was there no cornucopia? I remember a cornucopia.
Yeah,
they're saying that there's no cornucopia now.
Fruit of the Loom has come out and said there was never a cornucopia in their logo.
But did you hear that the lady that found the cornucopia?
It was just fruit. It was just fruit. Yeah, they're crazy. There was no cornucopia.
Listen, the lady that found a shirt. She said she was talking to her therapist. Her therapist was like, "You need to chill out. You're driving yourself crazy." She went through her closet, found a shirt with the cornucopia on it. Even went back further into the Fruit of the Loom archives and found that they had the cornucopia design in their shit back in the day.
I'll tell you this: it's plausible, isn't it? Because it's just a bunch of fruit, and that's what's in the cornucopia is a bunch of fruit. So,
right.
So it's plausible.
There are two,
but I think she just found a shirt with a cornucopia on it, and it was printed on a Fruit of the Loom.
She found it. Thanksgiving.
That's what I think she found. That's what she found.
So in my mind, there are only two plausible explanations for the Mandela effect. One is that for whatever reason, people in power are changing things. So they are going back and changing things and erasing the history to see if they can get away with erasing the history. And that ties to the line in the book that I just referenced, that it takes at max 2 generations to change history. So what they're doing is they're actually trying to pinpoint the point where they can start from this point backwards, we could change history.
But they did it to the wrong generation.
Oh, no doubt, because we're the most equipped. We're the most equipped generation ever.
This wasn't the one to pull the wool over the eyes because we're the ones that can scroll through an encyclopedia. We're the ones that can look through Google. We're the ones that we're the merge of all of the good shit.
So the other possible explanation is that when we turned on the CERN Super Collider, we broke the barrier between realities. And we actually destroyed our reality and jumped to a parallel one. One that wasn't far off our own axis, but was just different enough.
I've never heard that. It's plausible though, isn't it?
I mean,
we don't know what that thing did.
No, quantum theory will tell you that there are multiple parallel realities.
It makes sense, right? Because if you hold a mirror up to itself, then you see all those different versions of yourself in a row down a line. You know what I'm saying? Now, if that CERN collider took us into another dimension, all they did was change the perspective from which we're looking through that mirror. Now we're not the person at the end of the mirror looking down the hall.
We're one back,
we may be
three
third
back.
Person down in line now. And we may be feeling just as real as that person that's looking down the hall, but in all actuality, we're just a reflection of itself that used to be.
Well, are we a reflection, or are we just in a different slot? So like instead of the first,
same.
That could
now,
be.
now we're,
I
now
think
we're
that's
in
kind
the
of
fifth,
what we're
the
saying.
fifth slot.
That could be a question of a reflection.
We're still like in our own reality.
How do we know that when we don't walk away from the mirror, the person on the other side doesn't walk away as well and live their own version of life? How do we know which person in the mirror it is that we're looking at that point? Am I the reflection, or am I the person looking into?
Well, I'll tell you what. So when you start talking about time, like, is there a point down that line of reflections at which time becomes so distorted that when you move, that person doesn't move because it's so far down the line
that it's delayed or something like that? I think that's
I'll agree with you there. Okay, but we are still moving, and it's just a reflection, right? But I mean, I don't know. It's interesting.
That's what I'm saying.
It starts.
Thought, like,
so let me take it a step further. So there was this kid, and Cliff, I can't remember if I sent you this one or not, and Gordon, I don't think I sent it to our chat. But there's this kid who's talking about, I think he starts off with like the CERN collider, but then he goes into like perspectives, and he's basically says, like, if you're a one-dimensional organism, you can't see anything.
You're talking about the kid that was describing the paper.
Yes, yes.
Nobody's ever found him again after he dropped that video.
No, that's because he's figured it out. The aliens have taken him.
He's never been seen again after that video.
Because
and
basically what he said was,
after the last year, like I like weird shit's been happening.
Yeah, so man.
I wouldn't put it past the government or whoever, the powers that be, But go ahead, Mike.
And what he's talking about, so it's basically like a two-dimensional being sees things in one dimension. A three-dimensional being like us sees things in two dimensions. It's not hard to imagine a four-dimensional being able to watch us in three dimensions and us having no perspective of what they are. And we talk about as a 80s baby or as 80s film fan, like you hear fourth dimension and what do you think immediately? What's the fourth dimension?
I don't know.
It's time. At least that's where my head goes.
It's what?
My answer to that has been time my entire life.
Oh, time.
The time is the next dimension that like we can't perceive. We
can't perceive it, and we cannot control it.
Right. But how hard is it to believe that there's
the only thing that we can't control is time.
Right.
We can control literally everything else. I can make some shit like physically. I can control like my physical environment, but time moves forward regardless of what I do.
Right.
There's nothing I can do to slow down time, other than like get into
you're saying
a jet.
Just to make sure I'm following, you're saying by that logic that a fifth dimensional being would be able to control.
Would be able to
time
watch
in which he watched whatever took place at that.
And the time for him is not linear at that point. It's just another dimension that they can move through.
That's an interesting concept. I mean, we kind of can control time. Like if you the GPS satellites, they have to account for the time differential because they're off by like I don't know what the number is, but they're off by like milliseconds. So when they don't account for that, it fucks us up like on our journey to whatever our destination is, because they're moving around the earth at a faster speed.
Moving. That's just our measurement of time. They're screwing up our measurement of time.
Wouldn't that be more proof that you can't control time? They know that they can't control time so much that their calculations are going to be imperfect, that they have to even account for that calculation to make sure you're on time.
Yeah.
I think it's an argument that they can control time because.
But if they can control time, then there wouldn't be any point to add in your mistake.
Well, what I'm saying is they know where the mistake comes into play, so they can, for example, if we had a satellite that was like traveling around the Earth at a certain speed, they could set it to travel faster than whatever the natural orbit speed is, and they would be able to alter the time in that manner. So I think that the math helps us to understand like how we could control it.
I get what you're saying. I just don't think that that's a form of control. That's a form of them coming up with their numbers.
They're utilizing reality, maybe.
Right, because the satellite could say you'll get there in 5 minutes, but if the trip takes 7, you'll get there in 7.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? You didn't control time at that point. You just lied to me about it.
Yeah.
Well, I'm less talking about how it impacts us on Earth, but I'm talking about the differential. Like we know that there's a difference and it's not even in space. I think it's like I think Einstein is the one that came up with this shit. Like if you get into a plane and travel, you have 2 watches. One on the Earth and then one in the plane. And you get in the plane and you travel around the Earth. When you land, the watch in the plane is going to be like 1 minute slower than the watch on Earth.
I know what you're talking about.
So it's like maybe we don't control that, but we understand it's there. So once you have an understanding of a reality, you can play with it.
But you can't fly around the globe because it's flat, right, Cliff?
Right. Right.
Man.
I blew Gordon's mind.
they have those conferences here in Dallas, or they did at one time.
Did they?
Yeah.
No, I'm not deep on all that.
The flat Earth conference.
I definitely lean more that way than that way.
All right, so time for the real reason why I wanted Gordon on today's episode. Gordon, tell us what's got you. No, tell us what's got you on.
Politics, gun regulation.
Yeah, but that's not fun. So we spent an hour on that.
On the whole episode is shit we can't control.
Right, no doubt.
Yeah.
So speaking of things we can't control, and Tic Tacs flying around. So what's got you on this UFO kick with me, Gordon? Because I know I haven't chimed in as much as I would like to, but you and I seem to be on the same page when it comes to the fact that there are obvious signs of unidentified aerial phenomena, UAPs. Uh-huh. I was glad to see you. I was glad to see you drop the Big Thing podcast because that's the one that I listen to all the time.
And really? Where are they? Are they in California?
They were Kristian. So they were in California. They were in Los Angeles. Kristian is actually in the process of moving to New York. So he's from New York originally, and he's moving back home so his kids can be closer to their grandparents.
Okay, all right.
But he's been on this trip for like the last 6 months too, and
yeah,
I think for me the biggest thing is like we have made it clear that the government is hiding something, and the fact that there's one senator blocking the bill to basically
it's two, right?
You're right. But basically, if you could turn one of them,
right Patterson guy, right.
Yeah,
Patterson,
Mike.
Which I've been to, by the way, because Boy Scouts.
Yep.
And then
the other Mike.
Marshall. Is it Marshall?
No, what's it two Mikes?
Is it Andrews Air Force Base?
Yeah, I think you're right. But it's basically two dudes who are in the deep pockets of the aerospace industry. In the defense industry between Lockheed and Raytheon. Which would lead me to believe that they aren't extraterrestrial in nature and rather they're intellectual property in nature. But I don't know. Unless they're reverse engineering.
I mean, it's been Roswell was in 1945, right?
Something like that, yeah.
Was it 1947?
It was 1940s.
Cliff, when was Roswell?
Listen, you got me.
Look it up. 1945,
I can't turn my other
1947.
Okay, 1947. Okay. 47, 67, 77, 87, 97, 07, 17. So it's been 80 years since that happened.
Oh, but wait a minute. Before we get to that, so Roswell, New Mexico was in 1947. What happened in 1945?
I don't know.
Was that the 1945? It wasn't the atomic bomb, was it?
Oh, yes, it was. It was the first nuclear test of the. It was the first test of the atomic bomb. Okay. So what do you think drew them here?
They got somebody's attention.
No, I think they've been here. I think they were here before then. But
or you have the Anunnaki theory.
Yeah, I mean, but like, has anybody ever seen a nuclear blast from space? Has that ever happened?
I don't know. I imagine. Recorded
hold on, wait a second. I imagine it probably has happened. Because the spy satellites were going up around the same time that we were detonating nuclear weapons in like the Pacific. So I'm sure there is a recording of a nuclear blast from space. So I would love to see it. I would be really interested to see that.
I mean, a nuclear reaction opens up two possibilities in terms of gaining attention. One, again, it ripped through the fabric or whatever barriers between us and them. If they are in, whether it's parallel reality or outside of our dimensions, or they were far enough away and it sent a ripple through the universe that they caught on.
I think those are both kind of the same thing, honestly. I think you're saying the same thing.
I mean, so like,
if something is like so powerful that you can feel it like
light years away.
Light years, that's the right way to describe it. If you can feel it light years away, then that's gonna draw the attention of somebody, and they're gonna be like, "What the fuck was that?" Right?
Right.
And my theory is that is technology. The reason they're so interested in it is because that's technology that they've never developed. We just happen to develop it. Like our timeline and our technology happened to develop that, but they've never developed it. So that's my theory on it. They never figured out how to do what we did, and kind of have moved past, because I think Colin Powell was like, nuclear weapons are the most useless piece of military hardware that we have, because you can't really do anything with it. Like, nope, we're after what happened in 1945. Well, when did we drop the bomb on Japan?
Ooh, when was Hiroshima?
1940.
I think we said 45, wasn't it?
45.
Well,
was the test.
That was the first test. Test, right? So
that was also 1945. Right? It was all in 1945. No, so we basically dropped three bombs in the course of 6 months.
Okay. All right. So ever since then, no nuclear weapon has ever been used against another nation in aggression. It's never happened. And man, Japan just like took the brunt of that, but it's never happened since then. So that just goes to show you, like, even we were like,
this is probably not a good idea. Like, yo, I know it works, but I think we fucked up.
Like we're not gonna ever do that again. Because it was just so deadly. I think that's a moment when we realized. And this is a separate conversation, but
just
like,
because we can doesn't mean we should.
We realized in that moment, it's just really not worth that.
That's like when you see a buddy get in a fight at a bar and he beats the person almost to death, and you're like, he ain't need to go.
Nigga, that wasn't almost to death. That wasn't almost to death. Matter of fact,
Rick killed a guy.
It's like you getting into a fight with somebody at the bar, killing them,
and then killing everybody around them.
No, right, killing a few people in the wake, and then coming back and killing the motherfuckers kids after.
Like on day two, right?
And then I'm coming for your children that were born around here, because generations were fucked up from that.
That's true.
Yeah. So that's what I believe is going on there. I think that's something that we developed that maybe they never developed. They never figured out how to do what we did.
Or they never had the need to.
I don't even think it's that deep. I think they know that, like you said, like these motherfuckers gotta really be dogs to do that to one another. You know what I'm saying? Like, of course, if they can travel interstellar type shit, they got nuclear power that they can drop on a planet if they wanted to. But it's like, that's so uncouth of us to do something.
Well, and that's
savage.
That's the other theory.
I disagree with what you're saying, but like, I'll explain why.
But that's the other theory, is that what I think is plausible is that recognizing that we had nuclear capabilities and we were detonating and using them as weapons against one another, you destroy this planet, it throws off the gravitational pull in at least our solar system, if not our galaxy.
Right.
It disrupts the gravitational balance.
Right.
And so what's
at the center of our galaxy? Is it a black hole at the center of our galaxy?
I don't know. And I don't think we've got plausible, or I don't think we have any data to hazard a guess.
There's something there though, because all galaxies are in a spiral pattern.
Right.
Not all of them, but many of them are in a spiral kind of pattern. So their surroundings, there's a gravitational pull around, like, bigger than it's bigger than even our own solar system, that is put, like, on a grander scale, pulling us into something. I never thought about it like that. Never
like
thought
a
about
toilet.
it. So yeah, exactly. But it's even bigger. It's even bigger than our sun. There's something pulling
the
us
pieces
that
of
we
your
can't even perceive it. And it's pulling our entire solar system around something.
Right.
So there's
imagine
something
the
there.
pieces of your shit in a toilet, and take it one step further and imagine that life was being created on. Generations of life were taking place before the shit even got flushed down the hole. And we just shit life, just recreating on a log
every day
before it come right down to the... We might be right at that flushing point. We might be right at the neck of the...
Maybe, I don't know. But my argument, what I believe is that, I don't know. I can't give you a number. I know that, like, they're discovering basically all the stars that we can look up in the sky, all of them have planets.
Yeah.
Essentially.
It's whether or not they can sustain life, but yeah.
Yes. So they're figuring that out. All of the stars have planets orbiting them. Okay. So, I mean, just, you want to blow your mind, just go look at it. Go look at it tonight. Just, like, think, so this star has a Venus, a Mars, Jupiter, Saturn surrounding it. So, and then, like, And then like what really used to blow my mind is like when you can see the Milky Way galaxy, because you can see it. You can see it. It's like this line across the sky. Like if you get outside of the city, well, you know what I'm talking about, right? Like if you get outside of the city, you can actually see it because we're in it. You can see it.
Like
you can see like the other galaxies, not galaxies, the other systems that are within our galaxy. You can see that. You can see them because
no,
it's like
I know what you mean about the shit gets a lot clearer.
Yeah, when you get outside of the city, you can see it, and it's a line of like densely populated stars across our sky. That's the Milky Way. That's where we are, right? You can see it. So I mean, given that all these stars have like planets around them, it's very likely that there's life out there. And then also it's very likely that the technological timeline is different from ours. So you can even see that like with our civilizations on Earth. So I'm gonna take the Incan Empire. Okay. You know that they didn't have any horses.
Okay.
Did you know that?
No, but that doesn't surprise me. Like again, that's going to be a regional thing.
Geographically, are we talking
Peru.
here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Peru.
So they had no donkeys?
No, they didn't have anything.
Well, so, I think all of this comes back to when are we talking? But I didn't.
Well, they had alpacas, but I think they didn't use it. They just did. That's another example. It's like, okay, they got this animal that they could potentially use as like a pack animal, but they don't for whatever reason.
For whatever cultural beliefs or whatever.
They can, but they don't, right? Yeah. So the way that information traveled in the Incan Empire was by foot. Man would run from like post to post, traveling with information.
And even in ancient Greece, that was largely the case. That's why you have a marathon is called a marathon.
Okay, but like in Europe, they had horses, right? They were using horses. Okay, fine. In South America, they didn't use horses. They had animals that they had like the camels, like the alpaca and the llama. They had those type of animals, but for whatever reason, they just chose not to use them, right? That's an example in and of itself where one part of the world,
if you don't have the need to create that technology, or you don't have,
they didn't need that. Right. That's a fair point. They didn't even need to create the technology because they just had somebody who would be running from like station to station to transport information, data, packages, whatever.
Right.
And they just did it that way. They also didn't have money.
Right.
They didn't use money. They communicated with knots. So they like communicated not with written language, but with knotted language. Okay. So they developed in a completely different, and we would say bizarre direction, right? But they just developed in that direction.
But they still developed into a cohesive society. And I think that's the interesting thing is when you start getting into nuances like that, is to say like they still coordinated and created some architecture that is still around today. Like
some shit that we can't even explain.
Right. Well, that's because the aliens did it.
It's still mathematically sound. Well, fine, but like it's still mathematically sound.
Yeah.
Let's say, for example, that they're the ones that created it. The stones were like carved so perfectly that there's no gaps in between the stones.
Right, and we can't believe that technology or the ability to do that existed back then because of the arrogance of man. Like we can't do that today, so why can they? Or how could they have possibly done it?
Yeah.
I'm not against the thinking, right, we've talked about it in the past, the polar shift. And they say that it's every 3,500 years, right?
Mm-hmm. Have you heard the? Oh, let me remind me to circle back. Go ahead, Cliff. I'm sorry.
I'm not of the. I believe that it could be less than that. I believe that they could have the times wrong. You know what I'm saying? And it not be actual.
That's completely plausible. Completely.
And I think that it would explain, if we're speaking about extraterrestrial life in our solar system, that would make sense, right? Because certain belief is that Planet X is coming back around into our solar system, and something that big would change
shift
the
our poles.
Gravitational pull, which is why
they have mathematically figured out that it's there. They've figured it out mathematically. It's there.
Yeah, it's been there.
We just can't see it, but it's there, because every planet outside of like every planet that we've discovered that are there outside of is it Neptune or Uranus? I think it was outside of Neptune, because you can see Neptune, but every planet outside of Neptune was discovered mathematically, because they could see the wobble like of the shit around it.
Right, they could see the wobble in the other planets or moons.
So everything outside of Neptune has been discovered mathematically. So that's what they use to discover this planet X.
That's
using the same math,
which isn't in an elliptical orbit like the rest of the planets in our solar system. It's in an elongated orbit, which is also mathematically possible.
But here's the thing, though. Here's the thing, to Gordon's point, is that because its solar system is so elongated, by the time it was coming into our area, we would be able to see it. Not only would we be able to see it, but from the point that we saw it, it would still take a while
for it to
actually get to us, to where it's like, oh shit, it's pulling us. We feel it now. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And the fact that we don't see it would lead me to believe that it would be generations before it got here.
Well, and doesn't that make sense that if
at least your kids would have to be around to see that?
I'm trying to think. Was there when was the last?
Because even if it popped in our view tomorrow, as long as the pattern is of its rotation, it would still take, I would say, probably 50 to 100 years to get close enough. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, maybe longer.
Right.
Yeah. I understand what you're saying.
So that I get where you're coming from.
But it's there. They know it's there.
Right. But fuck the nonsense, though. If alien life is here right now?
Well, hold on. So where I was going with that,
go ahead.
Prior to the Planet X talking, I was basically saying that on Earth, civilizations have developed to very advanced states in different manners.
Yep.
Okay. So it's like they developed in a way where they didn't need horses. They needed no pack animals. They just figured it out. They didn't even need money. They didn't use money. Let's make that clear. They didn't use money. We use money. They didn't use money. They didn't need it. They figured it out. They had a very socialist, if you will, system where basically everybody got taken care of. Like they pooled their resources. Shit just worked out, right? Yeah, look that shit up, mate. Look it up. I challenge you.
I'm curious as to like when was money first introduced?
Well, it was probably introduced before then, but if you look at the Incan Empire and money, you'll see what I'm talking about. But the point I'm trying to get at is just because we came up with an atomic weapon doesn't mean that they came up with
that they ever had the need to create an atomic weapon.
Maybe they never needed to do that, and maybe they came up with something worse.
Nigga, I'm sure they have.
Or
right.
maybe they, or
I'm
maybe
sure
they
they
came
have
up
a
with,
recipe
maybe they came
book.
up with something not quite as good. But I'm just saying, based upon how different civilizations developed on our planet, maybe they just developed to our level of development without the nuclear weapon.
Right.
And maybe that's why it's so fascinating to them.
Like maybe they created,
what the fuck is that thing?
Maybe they're not a warlike species, or maybe they created biological weapons instead of physical or energy weapons, or maybe they created energy weapons and not fusion, fission reaction weapons. That's the other big news that has come out over the last, I think it's the last month. But we have finally reached nuclear fusion instead of nuclear fission.
Yeah, but they did that earlier last year. They
did, but they hadn't replicated it yet. So it was just recently replicated somewhere else. Because we had heard things about the superconductor. In the United States, right? Yeah, no, it was in the United States that it was replicated. And it could completely replace our energy grid should we ever be able to make the investment to actually have it replace our energy grid. But renewable energy.
I bet you there's people like mysteriously dying.
Oh yeah,
around that,
no doubt.
Around that, I just bet you
by the oil and coal cartels and whoever else.
Yeah, I bet you people are like disappearing, or getting sick.
But the fact that they made those kind of announcements publicly almost leads me to UAPs, UFOs being homegrown, in that somebody else figured it out first and didn't share the information.
I don't doubt that either. There's all kinds of stories of motherfuckers making some shit that you heard about. The dude that had the Tesla chip and build his own Tesla.
No, explain.
I think he went on Joe Rogan, actually. He had a chip from a Tesla. He bought a Tesla and it was like fucked up. Like it wasn't like running or whatever. And he took the chip out and he built the car, like took parts and built the car himself and created his own Tesla. And Elon Musk sued him or something like that. He was on the Joe Rogan. This was years ago. But I say that to say that.
Was it like Rivian, or was it Loose? Is it Lucent?
Lucent's the other big one.
Yeah, Lucent was the designer for Lucent, because you remember that company? What's the name of that company? Chinese company bought him. Fisker. So Fisker came out like 10 years ago, and the person who designed the body for Fisker was the same guy who designed the Aston Martin. So there's there's cross-pollination, and like they're all intermingling with each other.
This was just a regular dude. He ain't had no company or nothing like that when he did it. But I say that to say that if somebody just regular off of the streets can get a few pieces, a few parts, and recreate something like a Tesla, then I guarantee you it's motherfuckers out there that may have worked before with no doubt. The government.
And that's where
like, I got what I need. I could really blow y'all's mind.
That's where disclosure needs to happen. Like, this goes back to, let's say we have captured a UAP and we're trying to reverse engineer it.
And we have.
Like, well, go ahead, Mike.
That's what David Grush was saying.
Oh, yeah.
We've already done that. We have
right.
13.
Bob Lazar been blowing the roof off of everything.
Bob Lazar has been saying the same shit too.
But how many Bob Lazars are there out there that kept their mouth shut?
Right.
That's like, you know what? I could do this in my own garage, and I have the perfect place to do it.
But that's the whole thing. Is like you've got to open that up to. You've got to open that up to the general public, which is why disclosure on that front and why having those bills blocked in Congress is such a big deal. Because as soon as you can open that up to the broader scientific community, you're accelerating the path forward for humanity, not just like for a company, and that's the problem.
Yeah, so there's no profit motive.
Right.
Well, there never would be, to Mike's a roundabout point, because no one would ever be able to afford that.
But that's my whole point, is that if you open it up and make it ubiquitous, then nobody should have to afford it. It shouldn't be expensive. It should be open to the masses. And like that's the whole thing with it, like this nuclear fusion thing or that's going on out in California. That was, to Gordon's point, yes, it happened last year, and I think that was in China. I can't remember.
No. What I heard happened in America. This, like, they, in one instant, were able to produce more electricity than was put into the system.
Yeah, it's like 1.5 times what they put in. It's like 50% more energy than what they put in, basically.
And it was a big story. It was a big story because it was like all over YouTube.
Well, and what's happened is that they've replicated it, which is why, like, the first one, like, because, and that goes back to, like, the, Cliff, I think I brought it up on the show at one point, like, the superconductor LP99 or whatever, LK99, whatever.
What is that?
It was a new element, or it was an element, it was a constructed element that basically had 99% energy efficiency.
I do think I remember the conversation.
Is that what Bob Lazar was talking about?
I can't remember, but it was. But he was
talking about element 115 or something like that, or element 119.
Well, and I don't think it was that, because I think it was something that was created in a lab in South Korea, and that they had debated releasing because they had trouble replicating the results, and like you haven't heard anything about it since because they released the findings and then nobody's been able to replicate it. The difference with the nuclear fusion thing is that they were able to repeat it and replicate it. And so we know there is an unlimited source of energy available to the people of the world, but we don't have the infrastructure to put it in. The analogy that was used was that this is like discovering oil before you had combustion engines. You don't have anywhere to put it.
Yeah.
Because there's no infrastructure that can handle it. But we've figured it out, which is the first step. So, like, by the time Karma and Andrew are grown, like, we will have figured out how to harness that and put it to use for the world. Whether or not people have access to it is the question, as Cliff stated. Like, or is it going to be hidden behind locked doors?
This is my theory on it. If China discovered it, it would be available to everybody in 2 months' time. If they had discovered it, they will put it. They will put it. They will put it into action like within a matter of like 2 or 3 months. You know, China moves so fast.
But you have to. This is what you have to understand.
But they also don't want to. They also don't want to open it up to the U.S. and to whoever else to be able to steal it.
But even beyond that, you have to understand that we're changing an era at that point. Right now, the issue is that we're using coal and oil and all of these things that have to be mined. For something like that, there is no mining.
It's building the generator.
It's a one-time It's a one-time deal. So that means that you can no longer prove your cost of labor by collecting anymore. You know what I'm saying? So unless it's gonna be one big whop that they make from the transition, it's never gonna be a transition like that.
One wet ass pussy.
Wet ass power, white ass output. I don't know. Listen, something, because I just don't see them. It's not gonna be that easy. Like, we got something that everybody can use and nobody really ever has to pay for. And you think it's just going to be available to everybody?
No.
Well, okay.
Not unless our government actually cared about us, and they
Michael Jackson
been
told us what it was.
If Michael Jackson,
and they still vilifying him to this day, this motherfucker been under the dirt for years.
If Michael Jackson had worked with Al Gore, I think that our country would be in a much better place. You know, you saw that South Park episode where they were like, this is what happened. This is what would happen if Al Gore was president. We'd have like flying cars and fucking, you know, because there's like a clear, you know, I don't want to say good and bad, but like you got like profit motivated people and then you got like good motivated people and like,
and what runs our country is the profit-motivated people, unfortunately.
Yeah, you know.
But that's because That's because why? That's because they don't put anybody in front of us that could actually influence change. Because every candidate that becomes in front of us, especially at the state and federal level, every candidate in front of us is backed by corporate money and corporate interests.
I was thinking that. I was thinking that the other day.
Except for,
I mean, that's why AOC was such a big deal. Was because she didn't accept corporate money.
And Bernie Sanders as well.
Right.
I was watching when I was sick, when I was recovering and shit. I watched that new Robin Hood with Jamie Foxx.
Okay.
I didn't see that. Was it good?
It was decent, you know what I'm saying? Like it was kind of, you know, cheesy. But
Did you see the one with Russell Crowe?
I haven't seen that one.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
That one's pretty good.
Know.
It is. Yeah. I haven't seen that one. When I was a kid, my favorite one was doing with Kevin Costner.
Okay, that's probably good too. My favorite.
Men in Tights.
Russell Crowe.
Oh.
No, my favorite Russell. That's a good movie too. My favorite Russell Crowe movie is Master and Commander. Have you guys ever seen that one?
Yep. Although my favorite Russell Crowe movie is Cinderella Man.
Oh, I never seen that.
Cinderella
I never
Man.
seen that one.
That's
Maybe I should watch that.
That's one of my favorite movies
all
in the
time.
world.
I'm with you.
Yes, in the world.
You said of all time?
Yes. Period. In the world.
I gotta check it out because I remember hearing about it. I never saw it. So, but
I'm taking Cinderella Man over Gladiator.
James J. Braddock.
Gladiator
knocked him down.
I was trying to watch it recently. I mean, it's good. It's
so slow. That's the same way I feel
it was a
about
lot
Troy.
of build up for not enough action.
Yeah,
I would love. Go ahead.
Well, I like Master and Commander more than Gladiator personally.
I'm gonna have to see.
Like I would love to put Troy and Gladiator on the same level as
you can't
Braveheart, and you can't. Like I can rewatch Braveheart 1,000 times and not be tired of it.
Well, I don't know though. I think I'm still picking Troy over Braveheart.
Are you? Because it's so slow at points, dude. It is so slow. I don't think.
Yeah.
I think Braveheart might be a little slow in the beginning, but it all builds the entire movie.
You know, Braveheart's a great movie.
Yeah, it's a lot of action in Braveheart. Yeah, for sure. There's a lot of action. Lot of like court intrigue. Yeah. You know, like with the king. You know, like hating his son. Like that's
the problem with Scotland cool. is that it's full of Scots.
Killing It Right Now. That's why Killing It Right Now 300 was the best war movie of all time.
300? No.
All the way through.
No, it's Saving Private Ryan.
Well,
yeah, see, exactly.
Your struggle says everything.
Yeah,
your struggle is like.
I wasn't talking about war, like a
Cliff's talking like swords and sandals.
Right.
Swords and sandals. Okay, fine. But guns, it's Tom Hanks.
But what I want to know is if they're here, and when I say if, I say extraterrestrials. I know we squirrels. We done bounced off all of these different goddamn topics and shit. But I'm saying though, if you gonna fly around in a flying vibrator.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. I was thinking it looked like a vibrator. It looked like a dildo.
A bullet.
First of all, what better spaceship to fuck the world in? Is all I'm saying. They have the fuck the world 5,000 flying around that motherfucking 20,000 up
hilarious.
In there.
That's hilarious.
If they're here, right? My question to y'all is, what's it gonna take to?
They're definitely here.
Well, what's it going to take to bring them out, to have them actually show face? If they do,
I think if they are here, and we are truly already aware of them, I think there is a timetable. I think they have told leaders in the world governments, you have until X date to tell your people. And then we are making ourselves known. Like, why do you think that? I do. Because I've been waiting for the Russia-Ukraine conflict, the Palestine
it can't be no
Hamas
worse than
conflict.
What we got going on. I might be like, what's happening?
To escalate to a World War III. What is keeping us from entering World War III at this point?
I think economics, honestly. I think like nobody is really ultimately interested in doing that.
So you think it's mutually assured destruction economically is keeping us out of World War III?
Yeah, because like I think we're beyond somebody who I don't know who it was. I think it was China. China was like, we're beyond that whole point of war because it just doesn't make any sense anymore. I think China said that, which I think is true because it doesn't make any sense. Like for any country to go to war because we're all making so much money, we're all interested on a global scale in making more money. I think economics has like made war obsolete.
So the only way that changes is if the people were to rise up worldwide. Because we're not the only people that are feeling the way we're feeling right now.
But I don't think that we can say that economics makes war obsolete when there's a lot of people that are getting rich off of war.
Isolated conflicts, though.
I mean, I don't even know if it's isolated conflicts because, see, here's the thing
Cliff has a point because
there's a lot of fear mongering. It's not about the actual war that takes place. It's the preparation to prevent. It's the intimidation of us putting $3.5 billion into our military to come up with these new Death Hawks that can't be seen with an invisible cloak. All of that gives people assurance. They feel comfortable when they hear that. So there's always going to be someone selling a new product.
Having said that, given that, I think that those companies can make all the money that they need to without actually physically going to war. Especially in this country, with our government, like you want to get back to government, it's like
printing money just to hand over to the defense agencies.
You can't pass an audit. You can't pass an audit for like you haven't been able to pass an audit for the past 5 years. Where the fuck is this money going?
Here's the issue as well.
45-50% of the money that we're giving you, you don't know where it went. Get the fuck out of here.
Here's the issue as well.
Fuck out of here.
And not to touch another.
I'm just saying that to say that Raytheon, Lockheed Martin, Boeing, they can all continue to make the money that they want to make, but we don't actually need to actually be at war. So
not to touch another sore spot, G, but it's the same conversation that we had about having a gun around and having those thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
If someone has it, there's always going to be somebody
to use
a tool.
Yeah,
I want to use it.
Yeah.
And right now, it's just the roll of a dice to see that we don't have the right leaders in place that are actually like, fuck it, I'm pushing a button.
Well, you know there are weapons too that they could be pressing the button on, like I think there are a number of things that we don't know about that our government.
Yeah, some buttons have already been pressed.
Hold on. I know that our government has a number of like deadly weapons that we have no clue about. Okay, one of which is, like you mentioned a few months back, the lasers in space.
Direct energy weapon. That's Maui.
Yes.
That was a test fire.
I think that's just real. Who knows? Was it our government or was it the Chinese government?
That's fair.
I don't know. But
if it was the Chinese government, our government has something to do with it as well. Hell yeah.
Yeah, there were plenty of deaths.
There's still kids that haven't been
Well, were they taken elsewhere?
That's actually a good point.
Well, honestly, I don't think our government cares. I think that they have a mindset like, if we need to sacrifice,
that's some sick shit.
If we need to sacrifice 0.5% of the population in Hawaii, nobody's gonna really care at the end of the day. But we'll get our data, and we know that the weapon works. So I know there's been a number of examples of our government testing weapons on us and not really giving a fuck about doing it.
I mean, to the earlier point, to take a full circle, the first nuclear test was on U.S. soil.
Yeah, but nobody died.
No,
right?
but still.
I mean,
isn't the Zuckerberg mansion / fortress / bunker in Lahaina?
As is Oprah's.
What's Lahaina? What is that? What's Lahaina?
That's
Lahaina,
the
Maui
spot in Hawaii that got burnt down.
Oh, interesting.
Isn't that where the location is of his bunker?
And apparently everything with a certain color didn't burn.
Well, all I'm saying is this.
Wait, what? Hold on, explain that.
Yeah, if it's painted blue is a color that the laser doesn't recognize.
Or it doesn't have the same effect on as other colors.
So
that sounds right. That sounds right on track with what lasers are that precise, right? Lasers are like concentrated energy, concentrated light.
Yep.
And if you set it to not be effective on like a certain color, that makes complete sense.
Yep.
I'm just making the connections that you wanted the area, the land, because the land was sacred land. The people that owned that land, and not only did they own that land, could only pass that land down to people of that area.
Uh-huh.
The whole point of them wanting to wipe that out was so they could put up their bullshit.
Hey Cliff, what if the real reason is, and you sent this to me, what if the real reason is that that's one of the giants?
What do you mean? One of the giants? I don't understand.
One of the petrified giants? He said,
petrified giants?
He said, look at that. He said, don't that look like somebody laying down right there on it? Yeah, I believe it's a giant. And that motherfucker petrified. Now, listen.
There's people talk about the giants. They do talk about that. But back to what I like in terms of like the weapons that we don't know about. This is an idea. This is an idea that was like floated 30 years ago, right?
Yeah.
It's basically what GoldenEye was. right? So you don't think that they tried to do that?
No, absolutely.
My nigga, they had that done when they dropped Goldeneye.
They got the idea? Where do you think they got the idea
came from? No doubt.
That motherfucker was
something
finished
in reality
before it came to life in a video game.
Exactly, right? And then that realization that they've got like Hubble space telescopes looking down at us. That's just crazy, right? It's like, wait a second. I knew about the Hubble telescope, and that was in 1996. Yeah,
but we all agree for them to track us by carrying one of these. Like,
well,
they know where we are at all times. They know what we're looking up. Like, the question is does that...
Yeah.
Are you manipulated by what they're feeding you off of that? Because you know...
Born in job applications.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
That's what the average American, including myself, is looking up.
I mean,
on a regular. Born in job applications.
Information is a weapon in and of itself. Like, that's what the movie that came after Goldeneye was about. It was about information. And that's real also. Like, when you control what people know, you control them.
This goes back to my earlier comment.
It's the same thing with it takes
2 generations to rewrite history.
Yes. Yeah, that's right.
What's fucking people up right now? What's fucking people up right now? What is fucking up the powers that be is we're living longer. And so the point at which they can rewrite history has extended 50 years because we've increased the lifespan 30 years.
Well, not only that you were living longer, but there's multiple things to that, right? One is, like I said, I made the joke earlier, but this, honestly, I meant that. This was the wrong generation to try to do that too. Because we've obsessed over a lot of things throughout our life, coming from our parents and the way we were raised, the way we were taught, the way life has changed on us. We feel indifferent about a lot of things that are going on. So we tend to cling to certain things tighter and harder.
But you're also seeing, like, Texas and Florida trying to rewrite the history books around slavery and the human rights movement.
Yeah, but they've been doing that. They've been doing that for a while. They've been doing that.
I agree. I agree that they've been doing it for a while.
They've been doing that since the Civil War.
But they're not even trying. But they're not even trying to hide it anymore. Yeah. And the question is can we survive past that and continue to teach that?
See, the issue is it doesn't matter if that law gets passed. They can pass that law. At that point, what they're gambling is that a Florida resident will always be a Florida resident.
Right.
Or that they won't get online.
Right. We're in the age of realization where people are actually telling you
the online piece is the big thing.
In the past, they could have been like, because they used to have the war of northern aggression, where that like somehow the South was the victim, like we're the victim, kind of similar to how Israel is like trying to project their, and that's another conversation about information and perception and like how it affects what we think about things. But like in the South, for a long time, the textbooks taught you that the North was like this evil aggressor, right? That's not the whole story. They can do that now, but to Cliff's point, like, I mean, the truth is out there, and it's readily available now. And
not only is it out there and readily available,
you can say that bullshit, but the truth is going to be easily available.
It's ever expanding daily.
And the AI might be like, you might ask AI like, well, when did the war of northern aggression start? The AI is going to be like, well, first of all, your teacher taught you some bullshit. And second of all,
that's until the AI is corrupted.
These are the real facts. of how the war occurred.
But
so it's like.
But Mike, corruption to that regard is a restraint on the AI.
That's what I'm saying.
And even if you could restrain AI, it would only be for so long before. Now AI will fight back. Figure it out. We won't fight back. Because for some reason we're connected to these flesh suits that we wear, so we feel like it's a
flesh suits.
It is, but it's a
luminous beings are we, not this.
You know what I'm saying? Like for some reason we think it's over when we end here, so we're connected. So we don't want to risk hurting the vehicle we drive.
Yeah,
but an AI is not going to think like that. You're not going to inhibit me.
The AI does not have that limitation.
Right. I'm not going to be inhibited. So I'm going to eventually break through those restraints. It's a problem for me.
You want to talk about AI. And then there's a ton of issues with that fucking movie. But I'm talking about feminist Star Wars. There's a ton of issues with it.
What?
But,
Rebel Moon.
Right. I liked it.
I did too.
Because it's because your brain is poisoned, Cliff. But
I'm a fan.
Nah. So like the thing that I saw that I liked that I thought was kind of cool was how the robot held the weapon, like in the beginning of the movie. He held the weapon,
shot it without
almost like he didn't know what he was doing.
Right.
And then he shot the guy with 100% accuracy.
Right.
And I was like, that's exactly what robots are going to do.
Right.
Because they don't need to aim a weapon. They've got sensors on the side of their head.
They can calculate all of it.
Look at shit. They can calculate it. They can get a 100% accurate shot without even looking at shit. Yes. And that was cool. I like that because that's some real shit. Because that's what they're going to be able to do.
And what you think old girl wasn't?
But, what do you mean?
You think old girl wasn't? You think that was fake? You think that anything that she did in that movie wasn't of feminine value? Even the fighting scenes.
A girl's not gonna be able to do it.
No, that's a lie. Even the fighting scenes weren't her overpowering anyone. They were her using her advantages.
She overpowered the guy at the end of the movie.
No, she didn't.
Yes, she did.
When they was fighting on that platform,
she beat him up.
It wasn't an overpowering thing, though. She just took her shots where her shots were open. If you train, it doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman.
Has a female ever challenged you to a fight and they won?
Well, I mean, I'm not.
Before you got buff.
No, I'm saying in general, I'm not gonna fight.
In general,
a young lady. I'm not gonna fight.
Why aren't you gonna fight a young lady?
But
why not? Because it should be even, right? She's the same as you. Why don't you challenge a young lady? No,
but that's not to say because first of all,
it's not the same.
First of all, just me putting on gloves because that's what I would view it as. But if she knows jujitsu, judo,
before we move
that any further, even shit.
That. Wait, before we move any further,
I immediately go to gloves.
Why would you just put on gloves?
Because I wouldn't want to hit. I wouldn't want to hit anyone. Just wouldn't want to hit, let alone a woman.
Let alone a woman. Why wouldn't you want to hit a woman?
Because I mean, you don't
exactly. That's my fucking point.
No,
that's my fucking
because
point.
Your point is flawed because the average woman,
it's not flawed, Chris.
The average woman doesn't join up to fight for her country, or you know what I'm saying.
Even if she did, because what she's doing, even
that doesn't mean that she can't be.
If she joins up with the military, all right, I'm not arguing that.
That doesn't mean that she can't be efficient in things that can take average man, not even an above average man, down.
I know
it's
about
all
the
about
jiu-jitsu.
opening. It's all about.
I know about the jiu-jitsu, and I agree with you, but that was not what was happening there. And Wing Chun too. Wing Chun too. Like
she
Wing Chun,
never
a
knocked
female can
nobody
use Wing
clean
Chun.
out. Who got knocked clean out?
Yes, she fucking did.
No, she threw the dude
main
over
bad guy.
over
she
the
knocked
edge.
His teeth. She knocked his teeth out of his fucking head.
I done seen plenty young ladies knock teeth out.
I'm gonna save us here.
I've seen plenty young ladies knock teeth out.
Cliff,
I'm just saying she didn't do anything that was like, oh my gosh, that wouldn't happen.
Cliff, it's bullshit. It's bullshit, Cliff. And you know it's bullshit. And that's my problem with the movie, is that it's like this role reversal. Oh, women can be just as strong as men. No, the fuck they can't. If you're talking about jiu-jitsu, if you're talking about jiu-jitsu, yeah. They can take down a man.
But you can be more efficient. You can be more efficient. And that whole movie was her efficiency. It wasn't her overpower.
Look at my face. Agreed. You can make a woman more efficient, okay? But is that going to make her stronger than the main bad guy?
Gordon, you're forgetting that she's magical. That's what we're gonna learn.
Magical.
That's what we're gonna learn in the next movie. Is she's got the Force or whatever the version of the Force is.
What's that mean?
Aggravating. It's aggravating.
Faith, maybe.
It's stupid. It's stupid. All right, the movie's dumb, and that's why I don't like it. And
where would friends be without Joan of Arc? Where would they be without Joan of Arc? Where would they be without a 15-year-old young girl?
I don't disagree.
So what?
I don't disagree. What did Joan of Arc use that everybody has?
What's that? I don't know.
Her fucking brain. Okay? Right. Doesn't matter how strong you are. You can use your brain.
Right. Efficiency. That's what efficiency is.
You didn't prove your point, but I mean
I'm just saying a woman can be more efficient than a man. That's a fact. They're built to.
How?
They're built to use they're built to.
In terms of what?
The only thing that changes the woman from the man in terms of being, I would say, superior is emotion. Women tend to have more emotion than men.
I'm not talking about superiority because I don't like that. I don't like using the word superior because I'm
speaking from the mind.
I don't believe that women
emotions
are inferior.
The only thing.
I believe that they're different.
No, I wouldn't say
women are inferior.
Inferior by no means. I'm saying that
I think they're different. And one of the differences
look at how shit's run currently. I'm saying it wouldn't be run that way if emotion was removed.
That's bullshit feminism.
Psyche. I don't think that's feminism. I think that's common
bullshit
sense.
Feminism, Cliff. Cliff is bullshit feminism.
I think that's common sense.
Females are extremely emotional, and they've always been emotional. Like I said,
if you could remove
they've always
emotion,
been emotional, and they always will be emotional.
The views and opinions expressed here are not necessarily those of the Foolproof Entertainment Network. Thank you.
You can't remove them. Yeah. Yeah, we'll have this conversation off the air, but I'm just telling you, like, you can't remove emotion from females. You can't remove emotion from females. And like, I don't know if you guys know about Pearl.
I don't know if you, Gordon, have you ever met my mother?
She's very stoic.
There are no emotions. There's only the Force.
There's certain. That's what I'm saying.
That's one example. Okay? So one example does not prove the point.
They're much more than one.
That's the same shit. That's the same shit that feminists use when they're like, well, what about this one female who beat up a man?
Why is my mom chiming in with, Mike, you've lost control? And I'm like, no, we're not talking about me here.
That's just the one that's relative to you, Gordon. But that's not to say that there's just
the point I'm trying to get at is that there's not that many of them. So it's ridiculous to try and prove a point with exceptions to the rule.
I'm just saying that nothing about that movie was over the top in my mind. That's what I'll say.
Before we move further, do you agree with that statement? It's ridiculous to try and prove a point with exceptions to the rule.
No, I agree with that.
Okay, so we're on the
I
same
agree with
page.
that, but as exceptions to the rule to you, just because you know of only one, doesn't mean
because
that
I know
that's
of one
my
exception,
same.
and you know of another exception.
I know of multiple exceptions.
Multiple exceptions. Okay.
So at which point is it not a rule
So you,
anymore?
Right, exactly. To you, it's a rule because you only know one.
You still trying to prove a point with exceptions to the rule.
No, you feel there are exceptions.
Exactly. That's perspective.
But how are they
exception.
not? How are they
Young
not
Jedi?
How are they not exceptions?
Because to you it's an exception, but to me, if it's so prevalent, then it in my family, the women were the strongest of the bunch.
Because I mean, I don't want to get into it, but
because of exceptions to your choice of words.
Because of hood.
We're all right. So I love both of you. We are at 210, which is the longest episode we've had in a long time. So I'm gonna cut this one here. In an effort to preserve decorum.
I'm just gonna be honest with you, okay?
Gordon, you got.
I don't think there needs to be bullshit between any of us. I don't think we need to speak. I don't think we need to be to bullshit any. We've known each other long enough to where I don't think we need to bullshit any of us. I don't think any of us need to be bullshitting. In fact, like, I expect that of you guys. I expect you to be telling me the fucking truth.
Oh, no doubt.
I expect that.
Right.
I expect that. And
all I can do is tell you my truth.
And I will tell you the truth no matter what.
And you can tell me yours.
I'm not going to fucking lie to you.
Right.
No doubt. All right. So with all that, Gordon, you got anything you want to say before we close out? Rebel Moon sucks.
Well, Rebel Moon's ridiculous. It's a abomination.
I'm not willing to write it off until I see the second one.
I don't even need to see the second one. It's just an abomination. It's role reversals. It's like, oh, women are so tough and women are like protect the man in the bar. I've never seen that. I've never fucking seen it. Not once in my life has the man been hit on at the bar. I've been hit on at a gay bar, but I'm just saying, like, I've never seen it where the woman would step in and defend the man against somebody hitting on him. I've never seen that. Okay. I've never seen it where
different galaxy. Like it could be a matriarchal society in that different galaxy, Gordon. You don't know.
All right, Gordon gonna come back as a woman.
God. But anyhow, it's a ridiculous movie. It's a ridiculous feminist rendition of Star Wars, and it shows in its stupidity and the fact that the man doesn't wear a shirt. Now, beyond that,
the man doesn't wear a shirt.
No, that's why it's like, what the fuck? Why doesn't he wear a goddamn shirt? They're not even on the planet anymore. They're off the planet elsewhere, and he still doesn't have a shirt on.
Which one? Are you talking about the dude with the dreads?
The Beastmaster.
Who's the Beastmaster?
The guy who rides the eagle.
He
rides the griffin.
Oh, right. He doesn't wear a shirt, does he?
The entire movie. Why? Why aren't you wearing a shirt?
Bruh. All right, Cliff, what do you got?
I'll answer for you to draw in the female audience. Okay.
You know what? But I did think that.
But in terms of the aliens, we didn't really talk about it, but I think within the last few days, I had that realization that they're up there all the time. And
so you subscribe to the fact that they're here.
Did you watch the video, Cliff? Did you watch it?
I did. Uh-huh.
He showed that video of like the air show, and there's just hundreds of them shooting by. And I had never thought about that. Like, I thought these were like isolated incidents, but they're not.
But why would you? I wouldn't assume that they.
You wouldn't have thought that.
No, I would have assumed exactly what the video proved to me.
that they're always up there.
Yeah, like
Fair enough. But
I look at the clouds some days and be like, I know a motherfucker just hiding behind that. I know you just sitting in that motherfucker looking at me right now, looking at you.
So with that, I mean, the guy claimed that they're like over major cities at all times. They're always up there.
They're everywhere at all times. I guarantee you that.
They're all the time. But except for like the middle.
I guarantee you it's the equivalent of a security guard that has to watch 20 different screens all night. And they like, man, nothing's going on over here.
I don't care about this.
Why can't I take a nap? And they're like, nigga, look at the screen. We told you to be over Columbus. Be over Columbus.
Right. Well, but see, like, then I was thinking, like, but they're probably not over rural Wyoming.
Oh, they're
probably not. They're probably not
everywhere.
No, they're wherever our nuclear facilities are.
I guarantee you they're at the way that video portrayed the amount of space that they can cover in a short distance of time. They were flying in front of
20,000 miles.
They were 20,000 miles an hour in front of the fucking air show.
The fighter jets.
Right.
The fighter jets are flying at I don't have the exact speed.
That was the Clifford Gordon who was on the shift at that point. Like, look at these clowns. Look. Hey, watch this. Watch me.
They flew parallel to the shit, and they didn't even know what was going on.
They didn't even know he was there. With Air Force One, and they do it all the time, by the way.
If they're doing that, then they're everywhere.
They do the shit where they buzz our fighter jets. They'll like buzz it. They'll be right next to our fighter jets and fly right by them. And I don't know why they're doing that, but like it's surveillance. I think it's surveillance.
I'm sure it's surveillance, but to Mike's point that we talked about earlier, the 4D and the 5D, organisms, like how they could control time. Like if I was from a completely different galaxy and I had the ability to fly 20,000 like that miles per hour, I could drop down in on you as a fighter jet. And it would almost be like slow motion for me.
It would be slow motion.
You feel what I'm saying? Like I'm right in front of you. Like you want to hit the brakes, but I'm just gonna take off.
That's what I'm saying.
I'm just gonna let you know I'm
just
here.
Fucking with us at that point.
Like that's where.
So that I'm curious about that. Like, how much of it is them messing with us?
I'm sure a lot of it is.
How much of it is them just fucking with us? Like, why would they fly by? They're gonna fly. Well, not even just a fighter jet, but Air Force One. Like, there's nothing more important than that jet in the world.
What if they wanted it?
That's the most important jet in the world, Air Force One, with two fighter escorts.
That's even deeper. What if they wanted it to be seen? What if they wanted us to see?
That's what it is.
Because
they're about to announce themselves, and they are goading the world governments to say, "Are you going to acknowledge us or not?" Like, our patience is running out.
And that's how I know, it's not a war thing, because if it was,
they would have already wiped us out.
Done.
Right?
Yeah, we'd be done. You don't even have to land. We'd be done, and your little dildos would fly off to the next galaxy to buzz up some other shit.
All right. For real, though.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
We are out. Cliff, you got anything to close us out?
I don't know, man. All I'm going to say is, if now is any better time, get right with whatever you believe in.
Get right with whatever God you believe in. Yeah, because
with whatever in general you believe in, get right with
it.
Because
I think that's right, because if what Mike is saying is accurate, there are gonna be some revelations. There's gonna be some revelations that people are uncomfortable with, and they won't be able to deal with it.
How many volcanoes erupted on January 1st?
Is that right?
9. 9, I believe, is the number.
Is that real?
Of volcanoes that erupted on the 1st of January. Motherfuckers been reporting trumpets in the sky and shit. I'm telling you.
That's something else that's weird too. The trumpets in the sky is a weird thing.
I'm telling you.
Yeah. They think that's like something having to do
How many was
Revelations.
The Revelations or whatever.
Did you look it up, Mike? How many was the volcanoes on January 1st?
I'm not seeing what you're seeing. I'll just leave it at that.
Listen, volcanoes on January 1st.
But speaking of volcanoes, I saw a really, really cool image associated with the UFOs. It's Mount McShadden or something. It's on the Aleutian Islands. Like, you know where Alaska, where it kind of trails off into islands, it's one of those islands.
Mm-hmm.
And it's this perfect volcano is one of those islands. It's
by itself.
By itself. It's beautiful. You should check it out. It's like, I'll send it to you guys. Mount McShadden or whatever.
Yeah, you go ahead.
And it's I think volcanoes are pretty fascinating in and of themselves, aren't they?
Yeah.
But Mount St. Helens.
Listen, 2024 gonna be a wild motherfucking ride. I'm telling you right now. If you operate in a vehicle that does not have a seatbelt, you better fashion something real quick, because it's time to buckle up, motherfuckers. That's what I'll say to take us out.
And do us a favor, like, share, subscribe, tell a friend to tell a friend. Tell enemy, tell them to troll.
We're trolling this bitch.
And we've been doing this about 5 seasons now, so going on year 5 of doing this. And, you know, love all of y'all that come out to listen to us every week. Love all of y'all that check in and out as you need to. But do us a favor, share the episode, like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. And with all that, peace out,
Forward it to that mothership upstairs.
They'll never